Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and welcome to another Vlogmas episode. If this outfit looks familiar, it's because I'm filming this the same day that I filmed my crochet Christmas tree ornament, so it's actually still November for me. But I decided to knock out both of those tutorials on the same day so that I could give myself a little bit of a break later on in Vlogmas. So today we are making a knit squiggly Christmas tree ornament. This uses an I-cord to create the Christmas tree. If you've never knit an I-cord before, don't worry, it's super easy and I'll walk you through all of the steps. Even though it's November for me, you're seeing this on December 18th, which means that we need to open day 18 of our candle advent calendar. So I'm just going to slide that out. Today we've got a dark blue candle. And this one is pomegranate and sandalwood. I really like this scent. Sandalwood is one of my favorite scents in candles, just because it's so like warm and earthy, but I think the pomegranate definitely gives it a nice holiday touch. I'm also really excited about all these little votive candle holders that I'll have at the end. I'm hoping I can come up with a fun craft of some sort to do with those. But now that our candle's open, let's jump into the tutorial. Alright, for our knitted Christmas tree ornament, you're going to need some yarn. I love this yarn and the color Spa, but any color will work, even some scraps if you're looking to use up some green yarn from a different project. You can also do this in any weight yarn that you want. You just need to make sure that your needle size is going to work with what you've got. I am using some DPNs today in 3.25 millimeter. You don't have to use DPNs for this. You don't have to use circular needles for this. You can use regular straight needles if you want to. This is just what I happened to have out. You're also going to need a yarn needle to weave all your ends in. You're going to need some beads that are big enough to fit over your yarn needle. I'm using these wooden ones that I got from Amazon a while ago, but you can use pony beads, wooden beads, anything where the hole is big enough to go over the yarn needle. You're also going to need some sort of a hook for your ornament. I'm using these cheap ornament hooks that I got, I believe from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, I'm not really sure, but just these little ones that you can usually find in the ornament section. And you're going to need a pair of pliers to twist the ornament hanger at the end, and of course a pair of scissors for when you're ready to cut your yarn end. We're going to start with a plain old slip knot, and when you do this you want to leave quite a bit of a tail because we're going to be using that tail to sew up our project later. So I'm starting with a slip knot after that pretty long tail, and you're going to cast on 3 stitches total. I'm using a long tail cast on. It does not matter what kind of cast on you do for this because you won't really be able to tell. So there's my 3 stitches. What we're going to do now is something called an I-cord, and this is something that's used in a lot of knitting projects where you need some sort of a drawstring or a cord, or it's sometimes used as an edging on projects where you kind of knit it into the edges. But it's a pretty simple knitting technique. This will be a little bit easier if you have DPNs because you'll have the option to slide the I-cord up and down, but I'm going to show you how to do it as if you were doing it on straight needles. To knit your I-cord, instead of starting with your stitches in this hand like they should be, you're actually going to transfer the 3 stitches over to your non-dominant hand needle, and then you're going to knit the 3 stitches across. So inserting your needle and just doing a plain old knit stitch for all 3 stitches. You can pull on your end a little bit here to tighten everything up. You're just going to keep repeating this step. So slide all 3 stitches back over and then knit them. This is going to create a really tiny knitted tube that we're going to use to make our squiggly Christmas tree. Whoops, dropped that one. Then slide them all over. You're going to keep making your I-cord until it's about 1.5 feet long. It doesn't need to be exact. You can make it bigger or smaller if you want to. That's just what I've been using. When I say that this is easier if you have double pointed needles, that's because instead of transferring the stitches, you can just slide them to the other end of your needle and keep going this way. But again, it doesn't really matter. You can easily transfer the stitches back over if that's what works for you. Circular needle, you could also use this sliding technique. You'll just have to go through your entire cord to slide over. But that is an I-cord, and this is what it starts to look like as you get more stitches built up. So go ahead and knit your I-cord for about 1.5 feet, and then we can meet back here to start assembling your ornament. Alright, I have finished my I-cord. It's about 1.5 feet long. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear my heat in the background. It is very, very chilly today, so we have the heat on. I am actually going to leave these stitches live on the needle just in case I need to add or take away a few as I'm assembling. We're going to go back to the other end where we had that long tail that we left. Mine somehow got a knot in it. There we go. And you're going to thread it onto your yarn needle. Hopefully better than I just did mine, because that was a mess. Thread it onto your yarn needle. Now we're going to go in with our beads. So starting with the first bead, you're going to slide it down your yarn needle, and we're just going to loop it right back in immediately to the top of that I-cord. This is going to be the bead that we end up putting the ornament hook through, so it kind of needs to sit sideways at the top like that. Then you're going to grab another bead and slide it all the way down so that it's right up against that I-cord. For the first one, you're going to wrap your I-cord right around the bead and then insert your yarn needle again and draw it through. And this becomes the first squiggle of your squiggly Christmas tree. You're going to keep going in this general pattern of adding a bead and then looping the cord around. You're just going to, as you go, kind of lay out the cord so that it starts taking the shape that you want, where each part of the zigzag gets bigger as you go down your Christmas tree. So here's my next loop. I want it a little bit bigger than the one before, but not by a ton. So you kind of just measure it out and then go through your I-cord like that. I'm going to keep doing this all the way down. This ended up being about 20 minutes of knitting for me, which is not super long. If you are someone who knits and crochets, I would say the crochet version of this ornament is a lot faster, but I do kind of like the look of the knit version more. So I would, this is me personally, I would make the crochet version for craft fairs and anytime where I need to mass produce these. But if I'm making it for somebody who understands the amount of time that goes into things, I would make them the knit version. Because the crochet ones in total take me about 15 minutes maybe, and this one is definitely more in the 30 to 45-ish minutes category. Somehow I'm getting tangled here. There we go. And right through there. So my last little bit is not quite long enough to go around again. So I'm just going to add a couple rows to that I-cord. And this is why you leave it attached as you're assembling, so that you have the flexibility to add on some more stitches, undo some stitches if that's the better route for you. But I'm going to add a few rows just to get it long enough to make that last loop the length that I want it to be. Even though the knit version of this ornament takes a little bit longer than the crochet version, this is still a perfect last minute gift because you can make a couple of them in an afternoon. If you do any sort of like a work gift exchange where you need a lot of the same item, this is a perfect item for a gift exchange like that. It's a great stocking stuffer, hostess gift. This would also be really cute for that. I feel like there's a lot of things you could do with these little motifs too. Like if you made it with beads that could go through the washing machine, it would be really cute to sew onto like the pocket of a shirt if you did it in smaller yarn, or to sew it onto a sweater. Just lots of cute things that you could do with motifs like this. I feel like it would also be really cute to do it in embroidery floss. So like really, really thin yarn, and make a pair of earrings out of it. And then you could use much smaller beads and a regular sewing needle to assemble your tree. Got like one more row, one or two. We'll go ahead and do two. And one more. Okay, and once you get here, you can cast off. I'm just going to do a basic cast off because it doesn't need to be stretchy at all, because it's just an I-cord. And trim my end. It doesn't need to be as long as the original end, but it should be still a little bit of extra yarn. Okay, so now I can do my final bead. Well, not my final bead, but the final like loop of the Christmas tree. And go right through the very end of that I-cord and kind of just adjust everything and pull it kind of tight. Now we're going to make the trunk of the tree, and you're going to need 3 more beads to do this. So start with 2, put them both on your string all the way down to the base, then add your 3rd one, and instead of just leaving it, you're going to go back up through the first 2 and pull it not super tight, but tight enough that it won't move around. Then I'm going to insert into the I-cord with that same yarn and just secure it with a little knot. Okay, now I'm going to take my yarn needle off for a second. I find that the easiest way to hide the ends is just to tie a knot with the 2 ends, since they will be right next to each other. And then put both ends of the yarn through the yarn needle. And put them back through those first 2 beads of the trunk. And then pull all the way through. Like that. And then you can trim the ends pretty close to that bead. They'll shift around a little bit, which will end up hiding the ends. That is the knit Christmas tree ornament. To add the hook, I just use these little cheap ones. You could also use a paper clip if you really didn't have these and weren't planning on making a ton. I just insert it into that bead at the top, then recreate that loop shape, and I make it long enough so that I can loop the excess around itself. That was a terrible explanation. I like put it through the bead and then make like a little loop around the top one. Still a terrible explanation. Hopefully you could see from the visual. And then you can adjust the hook so that it lays right. That is your finished knit Christmas tree ornament. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that quick and easy ornament tutorial and hope that you can crank out a few before Christmas gets here if you're still looking for a last minute gift exchange item or decor item of some sort. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw today, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so that you can be notified of all of my crafty content right here on YouTube. And if you're already someone who's been following along with Vlogmas, I will see you tomorrow for our next episode. Thanks again for watching. Bye everyone!